كمان مرة بحب أرحب فيكم جميعاً وأشكركم لانضمامكم لأول جلسات التعريفية في برنامج نكسس. كل سنة وأنتم سالمين بمناسبة الأعياد، عيد الفصح وعيد الفطر. رح تكون معنا اليوم مديرة المشروع لينا خطون، ورح تكون كمان معنا مديرة البرنامج أماني ظاهر. رح تكون معنا كمان اليوم ميرا ستيفان اللي هي مسؤولة التقييم البيئي والاجتماعي، لينا رشدي منسقة برنامج الاستثمار الريادي. قبل ما نكمل ونبلش بأول جلساتنا التعريفية، بحب أنوه إنه الجلسة هي رح تكون مسجلة، رح يتم مشاركتها مع الجميع عن طريق وسائل التواصل الاجتماعي وعن طريق الويب سايت كمان. متوفر فيه ترجمة اللي بحب ينقل ما بين العربي والإنجليزي، موجود عندكم تحت انتربريتيشن، تقدروا تكبسوا عليها وتختاروا اللغة اللي بتناسبكم. هلا بترك المجال للينا فطوم، بحب ترحب في الجميع الموجودين. لينا.
مرحبا جميعا. A special welcome to all of you who've joined us today. سنة وتسالمين. Happy holidays. I also want to welcome particularly our colleagues from the Palestinian Ministry of National Economy and from the World Bank. Many of you already know me and you know our project, the Innovative Private Sector Development Project. Allow me to give you a quick glimpse into the IPSD, which, as you know, is a Ministry of National Economy project that's funded by the World Bank and it's implemented by DAI. So the major focus of our project overall is to support Palestinian startups, SMEs, and entrepreneurs to you, whether in new markets, for deal making, or for investments. And the key for us is always growth. As you're aware, IPSD's interventions focus on improving access to international markets and regional markets particularly, also to helping develop a dynamic startup finance ecosystem, whether it's through our Ignite program or the co-investment program and our new paid program, which looks at angel investors and those who are in becoming them. In addition to these major focus areas, we have an area that focuses on the reform and automation of the business registry system in Palestine and in streamlining and providing a framework for home-based businesses for those operating outside of the formal market. All of these together help us to support you as entrepreneurs in Palestine. We're very excited today to be reintroducing our Nexus Grants program, which many of you know is part of a larger program of market linkages. You already know about some of the ways in which we've supported over 50 companies to attend conferences and to take advantage of B2B opportunities in the region. To help raise awareness about your products, but also about the Palestinian ecosystem. We hope that through these efforts, through our support to you, you'll learn more about what's available to you and how it is possible for you to actually grow with our support. Today, you'll see how we've listened to your feedback on our grants program, and we've reframed it to better meet your needs. I hope that through your participation today and through your application in the future, we will be able to support you on your journey for growth. Thank you so much. And I give the floor back to Amani or Farah to introduce Amani. The details are really important, so I hope you'll really listen to understand how best we can help you. يعطيكم العافية و good luck.
Thank you, Lina. Good morning to everyone. We are very excited to have you here today. I know many of you have heard about the Nexus program in the past, and we're just very excited to bring you a redesigned, as Lina said, Nexus program that's really going to benefit all of those who are eligible and who are granted access to this barnamij. Today's presentation, basically we're going to discuss, I'm just going to share some basic information about improving market linkages in general, and then I'm going to go in a little more detail about the Nexus program and all that entails, including ESM requirements, use of funds, selection criteria, how to create your budget, and then of course next steps. If you have any questions while I'm on a specific slide, please put it in the Q&A, and we're going to go through all the questions at the end of the presentation. I think most of the answers you're seeking are probably going to actually come up in the Q&A with all your different experiences and various programs. I think you'll probably have specific questions that will benefit everyone. So just go ahead when a question comes to you, just go ahead and put it in there, and we promise to go through each and every one of the questions. So improving market linkages. So the improving market linkages component is basically a component of the project that's supposed to support you, local entrepreneurs, tech and tech-enabled startups, as well as innovative SMEs, in order to access regional and international markets. Another area of it is, of course, Lena alluded to it, is also raising awareness in regional and international markets, specifically about the Palestinian ecosystem. And quite a few of the companies in Palestine have taken part in these activities, resulting in investments made, of course, B2B partners established, and more importantly, also to engage with you, the local beneficiaries, with regional partners in order to encourage, these direct investments and B2B transactions specifically into the Palestinian economy and straight to you, of course. The Nexus program, this is what the program is now all about. It is basically to support you in cost-sharing grants, as well as technical assistance in order to bridge gaps in accessing new markets and expanding in existing ones. Expansion in existing ones, meaning those that are already in, who have expanded in the region or internationally. So the very unique thing that has happened with this program, and the biggest change, is the duration. So this program will now be offered to you on a rolling basis. What it means is it's an open program. You can apply at any stage until we basically say that the program is closed, which we're not anticipating anytime soon. And as long as there's funding availability. So there is not necessarily a rush to apply today because you're going to miss an opportunity. No, it's on a rolling basis, and you have that way the flexibility to really engage with us as IPSD, even in if you have specific questions as to about specific grant activities or whatnot. As I said, it's also a cost-sharing grant. We'll go into a little bit more details about that, but the program in essence is more about revolving around the grant mechanism and funding you in your growth and expansion, with technical assistance also provided, which I will explain a little later as well. So who are we targeting? Who is the Nexus program made for? The Nexus program is targeting specifically tech and tech-enabled startups and innovative SMEs who have evidence or high potential of penetrating regional and international markets within the next 3 to 6 months. Those who have potential for regional scalability, and those with high growth potential in terms of revenues, employees, product market expansion, as well as investment. In order to be eligible for the Nexus program, you must be a tech and tech-enabled company. What does that mean? A tech and tech-enabled company is a company that has utilized technology in the form of their product or service. It could be a platform. It could be, of course, it's got to be a solution to something, to a problem that's out there. But the key words is being tech and tech-enabled. Your company also must be legally registered within the Ministry of National Economy and operating out of the West Bank and Gaza. Your operations have to be clearly established in Palestine. You must be operational for at least 3 months before applying to this program. Your annual revenues cannot exceed over $5 million for the previous years. Your company also needs to have very minimal or non-existent environmental impacts. And of course, with all the information that we ask for through the application process, your application must be complete and all supporting documents must be submitted in entirety. All these factors take into consideration your eligibility. If you are missing one of these areas, or you basically fail in one of these areas, you actually are not eligible for the program. So I just want to make sure, just so that you don't waste your time filling out an application, that it takes time to do, and effort for you as well as for our team to review. If you do not fall within these parameters, do not apply at this time. And once you do fall within these parameters, please apply. At the end of the day, IPSD and this program is here to support you and to help you, and that's our ultimate goal. But we just want to make sure that you actually meet the eligibility requirements in order to do so. The funding itself is $25,000 as a maximum amount per firm. By saying this, it does not mean that you have to apply for $25,000 from the get-go. You basically apply for the grant funding that you need in the next 3 months, the next 3 to 6 months, actually. Being specific to that. It is a cost share grant. So 70% of the eligible expenses will be supported by IPSD, and your cost share will be 30%. If you're a woman-owned or managed firm, IPSD will support you up to 80% of your eligible expenses. As far as women-owned, I think it's clear that you're as a woman, that your name is listed on the business registration. If it's women managed, then basically that you are clearly part of the executive team who does make executive decisions for your startup or your SME. The technical assistance that's being offered through the program is very, actually, I think that you all will be really excited about how we move forward with the technical assistance. Basically, once you are approved for a grant, each grantee will be assigned a business advisor. This business advisor will conduct an initial consultation with you. This is mandatory. Every single grantee will have this initial consultation, where the business advisor basically will go through your market strategy or your go-to-market plan and help you create a roadmap for penetrating these new markets that you are accessing with support of the grant. If you do not have a go-to-market plan or go-to-market strategy, that's something that we ask you to put within your grant, that's something that you're that's something that you need to have in order to move forward. And we're not talking about big, complicated, 30-page strategy, but just a clear plan of where you're going, how you plan on getting there, and what you plan on doing. Of course, with these business advisors, additional consultations can be established with them based on consensus between you, the business advisor, as well as IPSD. You can meet with the business advisors up to 3 more times in the first 2 months of the grant period to basically go over additional information that's needed, maybe B2B connections in a specific market. These business advisors that we're bringing in are actually and they will be regional and international advisors who will be able to support you in the specific market that you are targeting. So if you're targeting Saudi, the business advisor will have, all the information needed to enter the Saudi market, the type of registration needed, maybe a lawyer that's needed, the legalities of being in that market, as well as connections within that market and who you need to maybe meet with and speak to if you're planning on penetrating that new target. Now we're going to move on to the environmental and social management portion of the program. So I'm going to allow Mira to take the stage.
Thank you, أماني. رح أحكي أنا بالعربي يمكن عشان أوضح بما أنه في ترجمة. أهلا وسهلا بالجميع. رح أحكي اليوم عن المتطلبات البيئية والاجتماعية ضمن مشروع IPSD بشكل عام، طبعا هي بتنطبق على Nexus Program. بدنا نحكي عن الهدف من هاي المتطلبات البيئية والاجتماعية. هي هدفها تصميم ومش بس تنفيذ، وتنفيذ المشاريع بطريقة مستدامة بيئيا واجتماعيا حسب متطلبات طبعا البنك الدولي. بداية زي ما حكت أماني، جزء من الإليجيبيليتي هي يكون مطابق لمتطلبات البيئة الاجتماعية ويكون له minimal environmental impact. فعشان نوضح هاي النقطة دائما بنحب نوضح للشركات اللي جديدة عم تشارك
environmental impact. The World Bank classifies the funded projects into different categories. So the PSD was graded as a 3, which we call it category C, where the projects have either minimum or no adverse environmental impact. So all
تندرج تحتها. بالتالي مشروع IPSD هو مشروع الفئة الثالثة كاتيجوري سي. من هذا التصنيف تم استبعاد واستثناء بعض الأنشطة اللي ما بنقدر ندعمها ضمن مشروع IPSD بكل برامجه including Nexus، اللي هي ما بندعم الأنشطة الصناعية، الأنشطة الإنشائية، وأي أنشطة لها آثار بيئية يعني من الأنشطة اللي احنا بندعمها. بالتالي هي الإكسكلوجن ليست بنقولها اللي تم استبعادها. بالتالي زي ما انتم شايفين مشروعنا فيهوش آثار بيئية، فبيركز أكثر على الآثار أو المخاطر الاجتماعية السوشيال ريسكس، اللي هي برضو كتير قليلة ولازم نلزم فيها. ممكن تكون هاي المخاطر لها علاقة بالعمالة، بيئة العمل، توفير ظروف بيئة عمل مناسبة، حقوق العمال، لا طبعا الموظفين اللي يتم دعمهم ضمن مشروع IPSD. في حالة نكسس إذا كان في دعم أي جزئية من بعرفش سالاريز أو كونسلتنتس، لازم نشوف نوفر هاي بيئة العمل المناسبة لهدول الناس ندعمهم. ممكن تكون مخاطر لها علاقة بالاستبعاد الاجتماعي لبعض الفئات المهمشة من نساء، شباب أو شركات ما تسمع عن الكولز تبعون البروجرامز. نحرص إنه دائما إنه إحنا نشتغل هذا الموضوع. أو ريسكس لها علاقة بالانتهاكات الأخلاقية ضمن أنشطة مشروعنا أثناء تنفيذها اللي ممكن تحصل، أو تعرض لكوفيد 19 أثناء السفر، مشاركة المشاركين لبعض الأنشطة اللي إذا بدهم يشاركوا في دخول لأسواق خارجية ويحضروا معارض. زي ما حكيت الانفايرمنتال ريسكس محدودة جدا لأنه ما بنشتغل بأي بالشركات اللي بتشتغل في مجالات الإنشائية. فبركز مشروعنا بما انه جميع الشركات هي تك وتك انيبلد والاسيت اللي بتشتغل فيه هي الاي تي اكويبمنت، بنركز على الالكترونيك ويست. في حاله صار في جنريشن لهاي الدفايات الالكترونيه يتم التخلص منها بطريقه امنه. فهاي الريسكس تبعت مشروعنا، يعني زي ما انتم شايفين بسيطه جدا. فالمشروع والانفايرمنتال سوشيال مانوال تبعنا حط اليات بنسميها ميتيجيشن ميجرز للحد او تو مانج هاي الريسكس اللي هي المطلوبه من جميع الشركات كالتالي بطريقه بسيطه. جميع الشركات اللي رح ندعمها لازم تلزم بقانون العمل الفلسطيني، من حيث إذا تم دعم أي موظفين يلتزموا بتوفير عقود عمل واضحة فيها البنود الرئيسية من العمل، من حيث الحد الأقصى لساعات العمل، الحد الأدنى للأجور، توفير تأمين ضد إصابات العمل، الالتزام توفير الإجازات. كل هاي الأمور المطلوبة نتأكد فيها عند دعمنا للشركات ودعم الموظفين. عمالة الأطفال طبعاً ممنوعة ضمن مشروع IPSD، ما بنقدر ندعم أي وظيفة لأي شخص دون سن 18. جميع الشركات لتفادي أي مشاكل أو زي ما حكيت مخاطر الاجتماعية لازم توفر آلية تظلم اللي هو أو يعني نظام الشكاوي للموظفين وبالأخص للموظفين إذا تم دعمهم من خلال IPSD. بيتم بناء هاي الآلية بالتعاون مع IPSD، يعني آلية بسيطة بتكون ضروري ديجيتال، نتعاون مع بعض إنه نبنيها لجميع الموظفين. بخصوص زي ما حكيت ممكن تعرض لانتهاكات أخلاقية، لازم جميع الموظفين والشركة نفسها الأونر يوقع على مدونة قواعد السلوك اللي هي انعملت خصوصي للمشروع او للبنفيشريز والشركات اللي رح نشتغل معهم. يجب توقيع الكود اوف كوندكت والالتزام فيه والهاي ستاندردز اللي احنا كمشروع لازم نلزم فيها. واخر شيء طبعا الالتزام بنوفر في كل الجرانت اجريمنتس بنوفر زي جايد لاينز او اي ويست مانجمنت بلان بسيطه يجب على كل الشركات انه الالتزام فيها ضمن اللايف سايكل تبعت الجرانت. فهي الريكوايرمنتس بسيطة اللي لازم تلزموا فيها، وطبعا لازم يكون تصنيف الشركة ضمن كاتيجوري سي. وآخر شيء بنحب نذكر عن آلية التظلم الموفرها مشروع IPSD لجميع الشركات والمستفيدين. احنا بنسميها GRM Grievance Redress Mechanism. هي عبارة عن نظام شكاوي متوفر خصوصي وبالأخص الشركات بحيث بيقدروا يرفعوا أي شكوى أو كونسيرن إله علاقة بأنشطة المشروع ومكوناته وآلياته بشكل مباشر. طبعا هذا النظام بيستقبل أي نوع من أنواع الشكاوي لها علاقة بالعمالة، بالانتهاكات الأخلاقية، بيستقبل الشكاوي مجهولة المصدر في حالات خاصة يعني لبعض الحالات. وهذا النظام بتقدروا تقدموا عليه اونلاين على الويب سايت تبعت مشروعنا، وتقدروا من خلال المكتب او تليفون. هذا دائما نحب نذكر الجميع انه موجود للشفافيه ولا يعني من السايد السوشيال يعني اسبكت. وبس هدول الأمان هم المتطلبات. وجود لك للجميع في البروجرام إن شاء الله. Thank you.
Thank you, Mira. I think that was very informative. And of course, if you guys have any more questions about
شكرا ميرا. بالتأكيد إذا كانت لك أي أسئلة ومتطلبات بالتأكيد يمكنكم الوصول إلى الإيميل.
Next, we're going to go over the use of funds, which are the eligible and non-eligible expenses. Of course, this is an area that you really need to pay close attention to because your grant activities will be built around these types of activities and should answer the questions of, what specific activities may it cover. So the eligible expenses that it covers basically are very broad, as long as these activities can be proven to support your growth and expansion. We look at each application on an individual basis, and that's why you have to be very clear. But some of these eligible expenses include specific B2B activities. These could be investor supplier visits, acceleration programs, networking events. Of course, every time I mention something, I'm going to say in your application, you would clarify, I'm visiting, for example, investor supplier visit, I'm visiting Turkey to meet XYZ supplier in order to expand, or I'm visiting Egypt as I was accepted into an acceleration program and I need support in covering my expenses. Also, it covers, of course, consultancy services in foreign markets. These could be related also to establishment costs, so the cost of registration in a foreign market. Also, any type of research and development plans that need to be done before entering that market. Earlier, I had mentioned that if you do not have the go-to-market plan, this is where you would put it as an eligible expense, of course, and under your grant activity. Also, if you have intellectual property planning or need registration or implementation, even localization and development of your product, this also could go there, especially if these consultants are in the foreign market that you are targeting. Or these strategies or implementation, branding costs, digital media costs. As I said, it could be legal assistance, it could be any type of consultancy or technical assistance market that you are targeting. Again, all activities have to just keep going back to where is your target market and how are these grant activities going to help you get there or to further expand in that market or a new market. Of course, other activities may come up that you would like to apply for. All justifiable activities will be, of course, based on a technical evaluation on a case-by-case basis for all of the startups and SMEs that are here in Palestine. So we do recognize that everybody does have different needs of for their growth and expansion. Some of the activities that I just listed here as eligible expenses, you may have something that's not listed here. And so of course we do not want to, prevent you from applying for a grant just because it's not listed here. We just hope that, that you explain very clearly the intentions of the activities. Of course, there's also non-eligible use of funds. A lot of these, go back to some of the things that Mira had talked about. As far as, we do not support industrial construction activities, tobacco production, or anything related to tobacco products in general. Of course, anything in relation to alcohol, wines, spirits, anything that basically also affects the environment, that involves the alteration to rivers or national environments, mining, logging, adult entertainment, gambling, and property development. Additional non-eligible use of funds is that we, as once you're approved for a grant, we cannot make retroactive payments. So if you are working with a consultant and you're already working with a consultant and the consultant has already submitted deliverables to you or has conducted work for you, we cannot pay for work that was already conducted. What we ask basically is that any consultant that you're going to work with, that basically they have to come on board after you sign the grant. And of course, we give more details about that later once your grant is approved. But in general, we cannot pay for past payments. We also do not make dividend or bonus payments, or we do not help you in repaying a loan. We also cannot pay for or cover investor fees or any type of advisor replacement fees for your advisors. Of course, any activities with nature reserves, and we are not allowed to purchase land, commodities, stocks, securities, or any other financial instruments. The selection criteria is basically on a case-by-case basis. We will look at each one of your applications individually. So we are not comparing your application to another applicant. We look at your application alone. So there's no comparison. There's no worry of like, okay, we gave this funding to this person, we're not going to give it to this person. I know this, when you're looking at the selection criteria here, it looks a bit expansive, but this is basically this is actually a skeleton of how we actually look at each application. We do use the scorecard, and a committee actually reviews each and one of your applications. Of course, the areas that we're looking at is that basically the technology or business model that you're using is well defined and considered innovative. We have here basically, we have a list of what we consider innovation based, and it's based on the Oslo manual, and that was something that was set up early on in the project. When you're filling out your application, you will actually find a link to this. So I'm not going to go over what it means right now, but you'll find a link basically that describes what is marketing innovation, what is product innovation, and it will detail that out for you. Basically, you also must be able to demonstrate that you have a viable and scalable business model, including customer base. And so what does this mean? This means basically that you have traction, that you can show that you, I'm not saying that you're profitable, but that you do have, month-to-month growth, that you have your user base also growing, that you're also building partnerships. We don't necessarily look at the dollar amount. It's not about, how much money are you making? How profitable are you? What is the number of users that you actually have or customers? But we just want to see that there is some sort of growth from year to year, month to month. We just want to make sure that you can demonstrate that your business is scalable and viable as well. It's also that we look at that you must have an MVP. Again, here we're looking at customer traction and some sort of revenue generation, but it's very important that if you're a startup, that you already have a product that has been validated and that's, building up basically. if your product still needs further development, this is not the program for you. Again, this program is for companies and startups who are ready for growth and expansion, which means that if tomorrow you were to enter the Omani market, that your product has the capability and capacity to fulfill or solve the problems in the Omani market. And so that's what we mean by having that MVP already established and that your business model is really ready to scale, basically. We also look at your management team. We do ask for your CVs. We also ask you to define the roles of your team. If the CEO is responsible for new business and the CTO is responsible for overseeing the developers and the localization of the product or whatnot, to be very specific to what the roles of the management team is, as well as your CVs being very relevant and clear that you can demonstrate that you have experience, maybe not necessarily as a startup or with other startups, but that you do have relevant experience in just leadership in general. We all know that, when you're looking for investors or you're looking for new partners, your product is key, of course, but a lot of it is investing into the team itself. And that is something that we look at as well. And then to be very clear that you have the intent to reach new markets. We do understand that, this could be a first step for many of you to grow and expand somewhere new. So you may not have closed a deal in another market, and we definitely do not penalize you for that. But what we do is closed deal could also includes if you have gotten any investments from abroad. But what's more important to us is that there's potential leads and potential partnerships and potential users and customers in that market. So, basically, you're in contact with a potential investor, that's a lead. You have potential business partners, that's a lead. Even if you have a list of potential people that you'd like to meet with, that is a lead. So it's very important in the application process where you're asked about, what is your potential in this market, to be very clear and describe your potential and to clearly, provide examples as well. I mentioned the application a little bit, and at the end of the presentation, I'll give you the exact date, but in a couple of weeks, we'll have another presentation that will go through the application step by step. We will open the application right in front of you, and you'll actually see, we will give basically hints and tips on ensuring how you can complete an application in the best way possible. Preparing your budget. So it's very important when you're preparing your budget. We ask specifically for, your grant activities that you would like to conduct. So we asked you to be specific. If you say that you want to attend an exhibition in Turkey, that's not enough information. We're asking for the date of the event, which city it's taking place, the name of the event, who will be going? Is it one person, two people? What are you needing? Are you needing exhibition space? Are you needing furniture rental at the space? Are you looking strictly for the hotel travel and accommodations? The more specific you are, the more likely that we will not have a delay in looking at your application. Otherwise, we would have to come back to you, or it may just not pass the scoring because it wasn't specific. Another thing is to be realistic. What is the timeline to complete this activity? I just want to remind you that, again, this grant is on a rolling basis. So you do not have to have that sense of urgency of, okay, there's $25,000 available to me. I'm going to apply for the $25,000. And then what we've seen from others in the past, they don't know how to spend it, because the plan has to be very clear of how you want to use the funding in the next 3 to 6 months. We understand month one of, once a grant is approved, is that basically that there's a bit of preparation that needs to take place, because You're going to have to get, if you're hiring a consultant, you're going to have that term of reference ready. You have to know ahead of time what's the estimated budget for even hiring this consultant. Honestly, if you're unable to conduct the activities in the time frame, that could be seen as, this company, the startup or company doesn't really have the capability to manage their resources properly, and that could have an effect on your future, future grants as well. Because if you're unable to spend it, the first time around, the committee is going to be wondering, can they spend it the second time around as well? So it's really important to really plan wisely, to be very specific to the activities you want to conduct, and to be very transparent in those activities. Again, IPSD will not cover retroactive activities. If you tell us that you are interested in hiring, a company to do, branding for you, and then, when we ask to see the new branding and we see it was the same branding that you had before, that's going to raise a flag with us. That wasn't very transparent, and it's obvious it's an activity that was already conducted. Also, transparency and purposes, and I think travel is very important. If you have a specific meeting that's going to, you're meeting some potential clients in, let's say, Spain, that you actually list who you're planning on meeting, the names of those companies, and a pretty clear timeline. It's probably going to take place 2 months into the grant, because at the end of the day, I might think that you're just going on vacation. And I would love for you to take a few days in Spain, but at the end of the day, we want to make sure that the activities that we are funding are actually truly supporting your growth and expansion. Again, here I mentioned this, and I've mentioned it a couple of times before. If you do not have a go-to-market strategy, you must include that in as part of your grant activity. You will see that on the application. It specifically asks you if you have a go-to-market plan or strategy, or like I said earlier, even just a one-pager with where you're going, how you want to get there, and when you want to get there. It'll ask you to attach it, and it will say if you do not have it, to please include it in your grant activities. When you're going through your grant activities, you will see a table. It'll ask you for the grant activity estimated budget and timeline for implementation. Just use this kind of the expectation of actually creating these linkage opportunities, or really supporting in your growth and expansion. Does the budget represent value for money? We've had now quite a bit of experience in the project, as well as outside of the project. We kind of have an idea of how much it costs to hire a marketing consultant, even in external markets. We have an idea of what it costs to hire back-end or front-end developer to work on localization of your product. We've seen quite a bit, and we of course will not doubt what you have in place, but we may come to you with maybe some additional, requiring some additional information as to why the cost is this much versus that much. And it's not to say that the cost is too high. It could be flagged if we see that it's a really low cost, because it might make us question, is this person really able to provide the services that you're looking for? Again, we look at the market levels of the consultants and what they're charging. And of course, you need to comply with ESM mitigation planning. So what are the next steps? As I said, applications are now open by connecting to our website and following us on social media. And of course, many of you are in our database. We will keep you informed as far as when the next information sessions will take place. And as we said, the applications are open on a rolling basis. If we were going to put a time frame, you basically have a year to apply for grants. Our project is end date is in 2024, and usually activities need to end about 6 months before the end of project timeline. So I can basically say you have a year to apply for these for the Nexus grant. If you've already applied and you have already closed your application, and after this session, you've realized that maybe you needed to explain a little bit better, add a little bit more information, please send us an email to nexus_ipsd@dai.com. We can reopen your application for you, and you can make the necessary changes that you need to make in order to move forward. Just, this is not a customary practice, to like just keep reopening the applications and whatnot, but sometimes we do realize somebody may have, put in the wrong attachment or whatnot. So, our recommendation is to really just, take your time with the application, don't rush it. You have to understand that the committee looking at your application has no idea who you are. Yes, the ecosystem is small, but you have to take into consideration that those looking at your application don't know who you are personally, do not know your platform or product. They don't know what you've done in the past. It's very important to be very detailed and clear in your application, and don't assume that, the committee knows what you're up to. Again, your application will be checked for eligibility. So you will see, some questions, if you answer, if you're asked if you have, if you're registered with the Ministry of National Economy and you put no, that you're not eligible. That's one of the key eligibility factors. If you put yes, then you will be able to continue on. Again, I talked a little bit about the committee. Applying doesn't necessarily mean that you're approved. There is a process internally where, the application is checked, of course, for eligibility and is screened. Then it goes to the committee, who basically will look and score each one of your applications. And if there's any further clarifications needed, they may ask for those clarifications. We're talking about, the entire process usually takes about 8 to 10 weeks. So if you apply for a grant and you're expecting to have, grant funding so that you can basically go to an exhibition a month later, it's not going to happen. It's not feasible. Our timing in the process does take a bit of time, and there's quite a bit of due diligence that takes place with each and every one of your applications. That's not to say, and that's if the information is all correct in the first place. Sometimes there's a bit of back and forth getting additional information between IPSD as well as you. So it's just making sure all that information is there correctly. If you are accepted, you will actually be notified if you've been rejected or accepted or need additional information via email. It will come straight to you. So if you have any questions, of course, you can reach out to us. I think, we've administered quite a few grants throughout our project. And I'm confident that you all understand what it takes, put a good application out there. But again, my advice is to just really, really take your time in filling it out and really putting in the information that's needed for your upcoming activities. Our next information session is scheduled for May 8th, 2023 at 11 a.m. It's also a Wednesday, and that will be specifically on how to prepare your application. And it will go through the complete application process, which I'm sure you'll have questions. Between now and then, I urge you to, go ahead, create an account, open up an application just so you can see the type of questions, and you don't necessarily have to close the application. You can even attend this this information session to get more information. We also online on our website, you can click on Nexus, and you can also get additional information, more information about the overview, the process in general as far as timelines, and you can also access frequently asked questions. So those are available in English as well as Arabic. So I also urge you to check those out as well. That is basically, that brings us an end to the actual presentation. We are now going to go into the Q&A. Again, like I said, you can check out our website and whatnot. And if you have any questions, please send it to us via email. After looking at the frequently asked questions and the overview, and you still have questions, please send it to the email here. If somebody can put that in the link so that everybody has access to that, as well as a link to access the applications, that would be great. The reason we ask you to send it specifically here is because you may ask a question that could be relevant for others. And, upon answering it, we will add it to our frequently asked questions as well, just to make sure that our process internally is also transparent and that we're sharing the same information with everybody in the community. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to start going through the questions one by one and answer it to the best that I can. Let's see. Let's start with the top. I'll start off with reading the questions. Some of the questions have been answered. So if you open on the Q&A, I think you can see that some of them have been answered because they were easy to just write them out. And so now we'll go through them. So first question, dear Manny, does Nexus conflict with Ignite? Tariq, I'm not sure if you mean, does it conflict with the Ignite program, or if it conflicts with you have already received a pre-investment grant. You can apply for a Nexus grant, even if you have other grants with IPSD, not with IPSD or any of our other sister projects as well. There is a place on the application that will ask you if you have other grants through our projects, through DAI projects, as well as what we try to ensure is that you're not double dipping. So that if you applied for a grant under Nexus, that it's not for the same activity that you've applied with other projects as well. Okay, next question. I hope I answered your question. Is Israel considered as part of the regional markets in tech? Anonymous attendee. Honestly, this is one of those cases that it's really on a case-by-case basis. It really depends on what you're doing. Is it your current market, or is it going to be a target market or whatnot? We still encourage you to apply, and we can talk about this specifically at a later time. Okay, can we submit the application without being registered, but we will register once we get accepted? Kais, unfortunately, the answer is no. Many of our other programs have allowed companies to register after getting into the program. This program is a little different because this program is primarily a grants program. So you're not going to be going through 12 or 13 weeks of mentoring or consulting services and then apply for the grant, which takes about a few weeks to even apply and open up a tax file as well. So the quick answer is no. You can submit, but you won't be eligible because you have to be legally registered in order to be accepted. Can we share the presentation? The presentation will be available on our website. So you will be able to access the presentation, this conversation on our website. I'm not sure if we can actually send the presentation in its form. Let's see. For the current fund, what is the end date of the program? As of now, the end date will be based on the end of the project or 6 months before the project ends. We will, of course, if once we plan on stopping accepting applications, we will, of course, put out that message out there that, we are no longer accepting applications after XYZ date. But for now, you could pretty much bank on for the next year that you can apply for this program. Is the $5 million revenue limit in total or per year? this anonymous attendee is asking, and that's related to also eligibility. Again, this is, looking at basically per year. However, we look at, again, the applications on a case-by-case basis. For business consulting, can we get legal advice or product-related regulations and compliance for Europe and the Gulf? That would be considered a grant activity. If you are planning on growth and expansion in a specific country in Europe, or if it's the EU in general, or a specific Gulf country, of course, that's a perfect, to me, grant activity that you're looking for legal advice on product-related regulations for a specific market. So yes, that would be considered a grant activity that you could definitely apply for. If a startup made revenue 2 years ago and then postponed making revenue to build its team, product, and get some funding, is it okay with the program? Again, case by case. It's the power is in the pin, or you can say the power is in the click of the keyboard. So, I would just suggest explain what happened. We will ask for, what you made in the past 2 years and what your expected growth is, but you can explain what happened. Again, we said we don't look at the specific number. You can describe what happened. We understand that startups pivot and they make changes and are continually making updates. But again, this goes back to is your MVP ready? Are you really truly ready for growth and expansion? And that's a question you have to ask yourself. Are you truly ready for growth and expansion? Can a startup apply? Oh, why is this moving without me moving it here? Can a startup apply for the Nexus program while it is still benefiting from the Ignite program? I think I already answered that question. Yes, you can. If you meet the eligibility requirements, for sure you can apply. That should not be an issue. Is the registration type like solo limited, for example, will affect my credit? I don't understand your question, Mohammed. I'm not really sure what that means. Do you, Lina?
Manny,
Yes.
Can you go back to the selection criteria slide and just have that up as you discussed? Because I think a lot of these answers are in the selection criteria.
Okay.
So,
some of the questions are not clear. So if you want to clarify, Mohammed, you asked 2 questions. Do I have to renew my registration? Are you talking about your business registration? It's not clear. So again, eligibility, you need to be legally registered with the Ministry of National Economy.
It doesn't matter what form you're registered under as a company. If that's your question, you can be registered under whatever form, as long as you meet the eligibility and the selection criteria. And I think I would go back to that. It's at the end of the day, if you're a company that meets everything under the selection criteria, whether you have registered it as a partnership or you register it as a limited liability corporation, that doesn't matter to us, as long as you're registered.
But I didn't understand about the affecting the credit, so I'm not sure what that means. Okay, let's see. Mira, what is category C? Mohammed Akwais is asking. If you can go over that one more time.
يس هلا الكاتيجوري سي اللي انا حكيته يمكن بوضح اكثر اذا حكيت عن كاتيجوري A و B. هلا حسب البنك الدولي بيصنف المشاريع اللي هو بمولها لفئات حسب اثارها البيئيه اللي ممكن تنتج من هاي الانشطه. بنحكي على انشطه. هلا كاتيجوري A بشكل عام للبنك الدولي هو المشاريع عاليه المخاطر، اللي طبعا احنا ما لنا علاقه فيها مشاريع اللي بيكون لها مخاطر عاليه بيئيه مثل بناء سدود، محطات تنقيه، بيكون الاثار البيئيه لها حتى ممكن irreversible. هاي تتصنف بكاتيجوري A. كاتيجوري B هي المشاريع والانشطه الاقل خطوره، مثل الانشطه الانشائيه، بناء construction civil works. هاي الانشطه تندرج تحت فئه B. هلا طبعا IPS دي ما له علاقه لا بفئه A ولا B. فئه C هي الانشطه او المشاريع اللي قليله او معدومه المخاطر، زي الانشطه اللي بيقدمها IPS دي اللي هي technical assistance, consultancy, salaries او كل eligible activities اللي حكت عنهم اماني. فالانشطه اللي احنا ندعمها لازم تكون ضمن فئه C. هلا بشكل عام الابلكيشن بيتم السكرينينج له، عمليه السكرينينج بتتم بمرحلتين. المرحله الاولى بنتاكد انه اوبريشنز الشركه لا تقع ضمن الاعمال الانشائيه والصناعيه فوقتها بيكون الفيرم will pass the eligibility. والشق الثاني بيكون نعمل سكرينينج على الأنشطة نفسها اللي مقدمها صاحب الشركة لا في as a budget line item في البادجت نفسها اللي حكت عنها أماني. يعني إذا طالب شيء له علاقة مثلا مع انه ما بندرج في نكسس تأهيل مكتب، بعدين ندفع معاشات، وبعدين نعمل مثلا نحضر المؤتمرات تبنتريت ماركتس، عمليه اعاده تأهيل مكتب هذه ما بنقدر ندعمها. فعمليه السكرين بتيجي على الشركه نفسها، بعدين على البادجت لاين ايتمز، على الانشطه نفسها. فهذا هو كاتيجوري سي، بتمنى يكون اوضح.
Actually, that was a great transition, Mira, to a question that we just received. Does the grant cover salaries, equipment, or office rent? The answer is it depends. So we do not cover the salaries of current employees. This, again, is a growth and expansion grant. If we'll cover salaries of employees who are supporting in growth expansion. For example, you need to hire a business representative in the UAE. It can support in the business development person's salary that's going to be in the UAE, for example. Does it cover equipment? No. If we go back to the types of items that we cover, it does not cover equipment. Does it cover office rent? It does not cover office rent for your operations in Palestine. If you need support in establishment costs abroad, or you have, you need support in renting an office, for example, in the KSA or whatnot, it will support in that as well. Again, growth and expansion. So we're looking at types of activities that are going to help you penetrate those new markets. We have a question here from Anan as far as the MVP, and he was nice enough to want to basically define it for those of you who don't know, minimum viable product. He's letting everybody here know that having an MVP is not indicative of a ready for market product, but a viable product that has been tested, which is correct. So if you have an MVP only, are you still eligible for this grant? And the answer is it depends, because if you have an MVP and although it, has been tested, but it's, again, we talked about localization of a product for a specific market. Obviously, there may be some development, product development for localization that may be needed for that international market. Also, if you're looking for specifically, for investor potential, and you're wanting to meet the potential investors and whatnot, having an MVP is enough. So I'm just going to say it depends. So yes, you have an MVP, you can still apply. What is your question? It's obvious that the maximum grant is $25,000, but how can we understand the 70% versus 30% share, please? So Ahmed, let's say that you are applying to attend a specific exhibition, and the exhibition costs $5,000 for flight, hotel, registration, and let's say a pod, having a pod for your startup, and the total cost is $50,000. $5,000, sorry. IPSD will cover 70% of that cost, and you are required to cover 30% of that cost, if that makes sense. So that's where the 70-30 split comes from. And that's how you would, on your grant, you're not asked, on your application, you're not asked to do the separation. You would just put what your estimated budget is for that activity. And if your grant is approved, we will then help you in creating an actual budget month to month based on these numbers, 70-30. Does participation in my program conflict with my current participation in TechStart? Ahmed asked this question. No, it does not. We mentioned this earlier. DAI has a lot of activities in the country that are active at this point. Does not conflict as long as the activities are not the same. So if you're asking for us to support a specific grant activity, we will check. So you might as well just not include it, but we will check to see if it's the same activity that you're getting support in under TechStart. I have a question here. We previously applied for Nexus and were already shortlisted. Do we need to submit a new application now? And would it be possible to edit the information in the previous application, or should we just start a new application? Maher, great question, because we had a few companies actually that were shortlisted previously. And the answer is we will need a new application. We've closed the book on, the previous Nexus, like let's say the cohort approach and whatnot. And now we have a redesigned program. We actually have made the application, in my opinion, we've made it a little bit simpler. And we would ask you to go ahead and complete a new application moving forward for all companies that are here. Khalil Salim, can we participate for two countries? For example, we want to open a branch in one country, but also we need to participate in a conference in a second country. Khalil, yes, that is no problem, as long as in your explanation, again, like because we're asking for a growth and growth strategy or go-to-market plan, it'll be obvious that, if you're opening a branch in UAE, that's part of your strategy. That's something that you plan on doing. We also understand that going to a conference in a specific country doesn't mean that you plan on doing business in that country only, because a lot of these conferences are regional. So you meet people from all over who you may benefit from. So yes, that's no problem whatsoever. Zahir Dohdar. Okay, I'm going to have somebody help me with this question. Ninaru?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me better now?
No, we can hear you.
Okay. Okay. So it says لدي شركة مسجلة في وزارة الاقتصاد في رام الله والمقر في غزة، ولكن لا أستطيع أن أنشئ سجل ضريبي. كيف يمكن حل هذه المشكلة؟ This is a question for Mira. He's asking about tax files for companies in Gaza.
Can I suggest?
Or Lina, yes, please do.
Anything that relates to individual companies' concerns, أشياء اللي إلها دخل في الشركات بكل شركة, we can reach out directly with the company and help you figure it out. So in this case, you can send an email directly to us, and we will give you some feedback on how we can help you with the situation. Tamam?
Thank you, Lina.
Thank you.
Isra Hamuda, when will the applications be open? The applications are currently open. So you can follow the link again I think we posted it. It's also on our website and on our social media handles. You are able to access it at this moment. Amani, what a great name. If we are currently working in the KSA market, can we apply specifically to continue expanding there? Or shall we apply only if we want to expand to another new market? Amani, no. If you are working somewhere, I mean, obviously, when we were talking about leads in a market, you have the leads already. You're already there. You may have already established an office, whatever it may be. Again, this is for growth and expansion in your current market or new regional and international markets. So you would be, I don't want to say a perfect case, but no, if you're already working in Saudi, great, apply, see where you need additional support to continue growing in that specific market. Where are we now? Oh, we have a ton of questions in Arabic, so I'm going to ask Ninaru to...
Okay, so question خطة للتوسع في سوق محلي وسوق إقليمي عربي في نفس الوقت، هل يمكن دمج التوسع في السوقين أو فقط في سوق واحد? So it's asking that he's saying that he's planning to basically scale up and expand to a local and regional market at the same time. Can he basically do that throughout the grant to combine both two markets or more, or do we only target one market at a time?
Again, Zahid, this is case by case. Of course, a person can grow and expand in multiple markets at the same time. I have no doubt in that. But again, it's based on case by case. So I would say, yes, you can.
Okay, and Sami says, هل يشترط أن يكون مجدد شهادة التسجيل تبعت الشركة ولا بلزمش نجددها? Do we have to renew the registration certificates? I think زي ما أماني حكت, this is a case by case thing. Submit your registration certificates that you have, and if we need additional information, we will let you know.
But I mean, I will say that you need to be registered. So if it's expired, then you're not considered registered. So if you plan on doing business and growing and expanding abroad, you need to be registered. If you're looking for support from us. Ashraf, let's see what you have to ask.
أشرف is asking على آلية ونسبة توزيع المنحة على المصاريف التشغيلية والتأسيسية costs basically from the grant. So we don't have specific percentages. It's based on the activities that you provide, and the committee basically makes a decision based on the budget that you submit for the committee.
But Ashraf, we're not supporting local operations per se. Again, if you look back at the where are we? If you look back at the type of activities that we're supporting, hold on. And these are the type of activities, and as far as local operations, we're not going to cover like local marketing or local rent or employee salaries. Again, this grant is specifically focused on how to and supporting you to grow and expand outside of our current market. Yes, we ask for you to have operations in Palestine because we want to continue contributing to the economy, of course, and still creating jobs and whatnot. But this is about going bigger and growing and expanding Barr al-Balad as well. Ashraf has another question.
It says, هل يمكن أن تكون مساهمة المستثمر عبارة عن تغطية رواتب العاملين لمدة معينة? So will the investors share cover salaries basically for a specific period of time? Confusion.
Yeah, I think actually thinking of our co-investment grant program, I would encourage you can still contact on the email that we shared earlier, but we will get you to the right person to speak to. But I think you were talking about the co-investment grant program.
But Manny, if I may jump in real quick.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
إذا الكوست شير عم تسأل على الكوست شير أشرف، هذه مش كوست شير بين المستثمر والاي بي ال بي، هذه الكوست شير تبعك انت كشركة، فانت لازم تحط 30% من البادجت كامله، واحنا 70% بناء على الاكتيفيتيز اللي راح تحطهم في البادجت بصير عليها الكوست شير. البروجرام شوي مختلف، اسمه الكو انفستمنت جرانت، برضه موجود على الويب سايت، وفي تسجيل لزميلي خالد اللي هو مسؤول عن هذا البرنامج بيحكي فيه وبيشرح اكثر عن البرنامج نفسه. He asked one more question. He's saying هل هناك إطار زمني لتوزيع المنحة? Is there a time frame to disperse the grant?
The disbursement itself, we're looking anywhere under 6 months. If it's going to take and really, like 3 to 4 months is even actually better for you, because it just shows that you're actually, when you're applying for this grant, because you're being very specific to the activities that need to be conducted, we prefer that the activities take place, as soon as possible, like at least, after applying for the grant, like within 2 months, they should be taking place and not dragging on for longer than 6 months. But we do also understand that we're working with certain consultants. Sometimes, you might need to do 6 months of marketing, you need 6 months of whatever, and we do understand that. So again, case by case, but the implementation of the activities and the disbursement of the grant should not be longer than 6 months. Okay, we have a question here. Kais asking, I don't know if it's a question or a statement. Expanding into other cities in West Bank is considered as growth and still eligible. Again, this is a growth and expansion into regional and international markets. You are still growing in Palestine. That is fantastic. You may meet the eligibility requirements in general. That's good. We still will look at your application, but I'm not. It'll be on again case by case basis, because we're looking at companies who are looking to grow and expand regionally and internationally, not locally. Amani Abed, are there any constraints on the percent of fund we spend outside of Palestine versus the percent of fund we spend in the countries we want to scale to? I'm sorry, I don't understand. Percent of fund we spend outside of Palestine, is outside of Palestine versus the percent of fund we spend in the countries we want.
I think
I don't understand.
locally versus region. Like, do we have to spend some money for the Nexus program within Palestine, or does it only have to be spent locally, regionally to like whatever market they're targeting? Is there any
It's per grant activity. The question's not really that clear, but it basically depends on the grant activity. So we do not have a specific percentage allocated towards, like a local consultant who's going to help you grow and expand versus an international consultant who's going to help you grow and expand. We do not split up the percentages.
So just to make it a bit clear, because Amani takes a grant from the Ignite program, it's different, right? You don't have, there's no restrictions on the spending like 70% of the total budget on operational costs within Palestine. That's different, and then just wanted to make sure that there's a bit of a difference between both programs. So it's not the same as Ignite.
Yeah, I think I also want to mention that again, like we've had different grants programs offered by IPSD, TechStart, some of our other things. The Nexus grant is a bit different than some of the other grants that you may have applied for IPSD. As far as administratively, it's all the same, but the eligibility is quite different, So I want to just clarify, there are a lot of questions of, if I was part of Ignite, can I still apply for Nexus? And the answer was yes, of course you can, if you meet the eligibility requirements. But I just want you to take into consideration this is a different type of grant. So I would encourage you to definitely, reach out and ask additional questions if needed, if they're not answered for you on the frequently asked questions or in the overview itself. So I can see right now there are no open questions. We've answered them all. I want to thank all of you for joining us today. I hope we were able to give you all the information that's needed about the Nexus program. We really look forward to all of you applying and for us seeing, basically being able to support you as IPSD in all your growth and expansion endeavors. And I just want to thank my colleagues today for all joining and also be part of this very interactive session. So signing out, shukran كتير وكل سنة وانتم سالمين. Lena has one more thing.
Yes, I have one more thing. Everybody, please fill out the survey that is in the chat. We would really appreciate that. It helps us make sure that we get the message across. And if there's anything that you don't understand, it helps us understand where we can improve our communication. So please fill that out. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll leave it up. يعطيكم عافية. Have a nice day.